To entertain you this morning, so this is our winging of what Terminal 1 is. This was written by McKinsey, so we're not responsible for the content. Okay? So anyway, the birthplace of the port. It may be hard to believe that the place considered a Vancouver landmark today was once a bustling shipping dock. However, where the Red Lion Hotel stands today was once just that.
If you feel like you are moving while inside the building, you are not alone, and it does sway. The facility built at the port's Terminal 1 are actually constructed over piers used as original shipping dock, so visitors are allowed an optimal view of the flowing river. What is now the restaurant was once used as original warehouse at Terminal 1.
This place is unique in that the location where the public can witness the birthplace of what is now a multi-million-dollar enterprise, the Port of Vancouver, USA.
Inside the bar at the quay, looking up, you may notice beams running along the ceiling while pondering the menu. These wooden planks are the original warehouse timbers used at the municipal dock. Peering out the windows, overlooking vessels headed for the port, you will see that the bridge on the only remaining lift span on the interstate system, as well as the 60,000 vehicles that cross the bridge each day between Oregon and Washington.
The construction of the original warehouse began on December 1 of 1926 as a result of a joint enterprise between the City of Vancouver and the Port of Vancouver. The idea began to take form, and a warehouse and extended dock at Terminal 1 was born.
For more than 30 years, Terminal 1 was the port's main shipping dock, but overcrowding and removal of most of the dock for the interstate bridge led to new uses for the dock's unique location. Plus, it was falling in.
In 1956, the eastern 130 feet of the dock and 120 feet of the warehouse were removed for the construction of the southbound span of the interstate bridge. Unable to accommodate cargo vessels, the 60 feet of the remaining space was leased to George Goodrich on March 1 of 1960 for the restaurant called The Key. Restaurant and convention facilities were added to what became the Thunderbird Hotel at the Key, a joint venture with the Vancouver-based Red Lion Hotel.
During this time, there were no convention facilities in the Vancouver area, so Terminal 1's hotel was the site of various local and regional meetings, a tradition that continues today. Later, the Red Lion Hotel chain bought the business and continues to lease the facility from the port as the lone commercial property on the grounds.
By the late 1980s, support from local citizens for waterfront access to the river led port commissioners to unanimously agree to refurbish the rest of Terminal 1. The area known today as Vancouver Landing marks a location unique for its kind in the area.
When the dock was first constructed, it proved to be useful because of its ideal location for bringing in both people and cargo. While cargo is reserved for operation further downriver, people still gather at the refurbished waterfront area, which is solely dedicated for public moorage. Back then, the river was the only way. Everything had to be on the river, the dairies and everything, in order to get their produce to market because there was very, very few roads. So the river was extremely important back then.
Vancouver Landing also demonstrates partnership between the port and the City of Vancouver that has remained strong since Terminal 1's early days.
The current facility sports a two-tier dock with an amphitheater which allows access for visiting marine vessels, provides transition between the dock levels, and seats approximately 500. It's been the site for community events such as Fort Vancouver Days, River Rhythms, and chili cook-off concerts, and is ideal location to view the annual parade of Christmas ships.
The Upon its completion, the first event Vancouver Landing hosted was the Congressional Medal of Honor Society in 1991, and Colin Powell was present to address the convention. Other visitors have included the Royal Canadian Navy and both the U.S. Coast Guard and U.S. Army ships.
Ships of many sizes continue to dock at the landing, including the Lady Washington and other tall ships. Both of us look forward to the landing and the port's future.
Says now we can share some personal stories. Well, some we can, some we can't. Both of us, we were responsible for a lot of the fire protection underneath the docks. We used to have visitors down there. We had to put fences up. The visitors, we would go down to the valve houses. We'd have to knock to get in. Because our locks were cut off the valve houses, we had transients or maybe river people down there. So we'd have to knock. They'd have their house all set up inside. So we'd, they were very well furnished, weren't they?
There was one time, it was actually right on the river. They found plywood and different things and put up a pretty nice little condominium, right? And it took us about 2 pickup loads of sleeping bags and just everything that they had. And they also, at night, it gets cold, so there's all sorts of driftwood underneath the dock, and they would build fires, and occasionally they would actually build a fire on the wood catwalk underneath there. And we get a call in the middle of the night, fire system had went off, and of course put the fire out. But here we got areas that we've got to get to, and it was difficult to get to.
So, and along with some of the coolers getting broken into at the Red Lion, because the dock runs down to where their cooler or beer kegs were, that the gates at Red Lion had to be put up, and then we put fencing up on the west side underneath the amphitheater to shut that activity down. So hence ended our entertainment as far as visitors.
And this actually is interesting because when I first got out of high school 2 years back, 1966, that was one of the first jobs I was on for fire protection. At that time, there was no motel there. Everything kind of ended where the drive-through is. As you drive up there, that was basically they had just a restaurant. And so I worked about 3 months putting fire protection in where the motel and the convention, or not the convention center, but the area where you go in to register. That was all. So I actually got to work down there. And don't know any other stories that we can share. There was many interesting things went on underneath that dock. It was a kind of instead of being on a underpass somewhere, you were underneath the dock at the quay.
Yeah. Sometimes it was you start underneath and went, oh boy, and walk back out.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Terminal 1.